Hello everyone and welcome to your second Festive Pilates video. I hope you're having a lovely relaxing time. Now this is just a really simple video which you can pop on at any time. It doesn't involve any lying down. In fact, the first 10 minutes are all done standing up. So if you just find yourself a little bit of wall space where you can lean back against the wall, you want to have your feet about feet distance away from the wall, so about a foot away from the wall, and then you're leaning the rest of your body back, so the back of your pelvis, the back of your shoulders and the back of your head are all against the wall. We're going to start thinking about that breath. So you can pop your hands onto the rib cage if you like, and take some nice deep breaths, expanding the rib cage out to the side and closing it back in. And we're going to start to move that pelvis against the wall, so just doing your normal little pelvic tucks and tilts. So you're flattening the arch of the back against the wall and then increasing that little arch away, and just getting that movement happening in all of those joints around the base of the spine and the pelvis. Then we're going to find that neutral pelvis position, just like we do when we're lying on the mat. We've got a little bit of an arch in the back, but not too much, a natural S-curve. Once we've found that neutral pelvis, we're just going to start taking a few little knee bends here, so that you'll slide slightly down the wall and slightly back up again. Now this is going to depend slightly on how slippery your wall is. If you're not going anywhere, then instead just hold that nice neutral pelvis position or come away from the wall, just as I'm showing you here. We want to maintain that position, not letting the arch get too big and not flattening that curve out, but feeling that string pulling us up towards the ceiling. Long, long spine. From here, let's just bring feet hip distance apart, maintaining that length through the spine. We're going to float both the arms up towards the ceiling in front, and then open them out to the side. You're feeling an extension right through the fingertips so that they're reaching up tall and long, and then really opening out to the side, taking up as much space as you can. Let's try and keep that lovely breathing going while we're doing this, so expanding the rib cage out to the side, closing it back in like the bellows on an accordion. And once we've got our arms out to the side here, we're going to take it into a little sideways curve, so that starting with the head, the whole spine tips over to the side. If it's a bit too strong for you with your arms out, you can pop one hand onto your hip instead, or onto the side of your leg, just to give you a little bit more support. I'm showing you here. But this is really strong stretch through the side of the body, so start off small and just see if you can slightly increase that opening sensation through the side of the rib cage, just a little bit more of a curve each time you go over. Now we're going to put the hands out in front. If you have a stretchy band, you can hold it here between your hands. If not, then you just imagine it and use the feeling of resistance. So you squeeze the arms out to the side, keeping the elbows tucked into the waist, and then return them back forwards again. We're just going to repeat that squeezing sensation here, squeezing those arms out, elbows stay tucked. Now keeping that same feeling of resistance here, all the way out and all the way in. This time, we start off just the same. We have that feeling of resistance, we squeeze the hands out, then we extend them out to the side so that they come level with the shoulders. Bring the elbows back into the waist and squeeze back in. We can make this as easy or as hard as we want, depending on how much we really resist that movement. The more you feel like you're moving through treacle, putting your arms against some sort of resistance or stretchy band, the harder it'll work. We're just checking that posture again now, so just making sure that you're equally on both feet. And then bring your weight forwards and onto the balls of your feet. As you do so, just see if you can encourage those heels to come off the floor. Find yourself a point in front to have a really good look at. Focus on that there. Keep the breath going. See if you can just pop those heels off, bringing the weight forwards onto the balls of the feet, pulling up tall and long towards the ceiling. We want to keep a feeling of length through the legs while we do this. We're not locking all of our muscles, but we're feeling long and straight. So we're just going to turn around now and face that wall which you were against. Pop both hands onto the wall as a bit of support, And we're going to take this over onto one leg. You can carry on 2 legs if one is too much, but if you want to have a little bit more of a challenge for the calf, we're going to take it onto one leg. Keep those nice slow rises up and down. If you want a little bit of an extra challenge, see if you can take your hands off the wall and balance by yourself on this single leg rise. Let's take it over to the other foot now. So remember that feeling we've had when you've had the ball between your ankles, that you want to keep that ankle long and straight here. We're not letting the foot roll inwards or outwards, but we're going straight up to the ceiling, the long straight ankle forming part of the line of the leg. We're coming around again now to find that neutral pelvis position, making sure we're still reaching up towards the ceiling. We're going to take a long lunge. The back heel comes off the floor. Finding that neutral pelvis and engaging those abdominal muscles before we begin. We're going to bend both legs simultaneously. We don't want the weight to be going forwards or backwards. We want the body to stay exactly in the centre of the 2 legs. So as we bend both knees, we come up and down in the middle here. Again, if we really get that feeling of resistance while we take these split squats, it works both the legs really hard. So feeling as if you're moving through treacle again, as if you're attached by stretchy bands to the ceiling and the floor, and you're having to really squeeze into those bands to bring yourself up and down. Don't forget to engage those abdominal muscles throughout. We're going around to the other side now. So switching legs, nice open position, back heel off the floor, long spine. Squeezing down into that squat and back up. It doesn't have to be quite as deep as I'm demonstrating. That's making you a little bit wobbly. We just want to give the legs a little bit of a work. Abdominals are engaged. We're breathing into the side of the rib cage. Coming around now to 2 feet. So we're going to have both feet hip distance apart. We're going to reach the bottom out as if we're sitting on something low behind. We're going down into that double leg squat. So really reaching that bottom out and low. As if we're going to sit on a low stool. As we go down, we engage those glutes and we really use the glutes to push ourselves back up again. That's where the work is coming from. Good job, everybody. We're nearly there. Really make them count. Make them nice and deep, nice and slow. Switch those glutes on and make sure they're working hard. Now we're in a nice deep squat here. We're going to put both arms out in front. We're going to hold it here. Holding that squat. If it's too much with your arms out in front, you can pop them down to your knees instead. But we're staying low and pushing from the glutes. Up we come. Well done. So we're going to come into a seated position now. You can either take this on the floor as I'm demonstrating, or you can also sit on a chair. Try and find a nice stable one with a solid base, like a kitchen chair probably, and sit nice and forwards on the chair. Starting out with a long spine, reaching up towards the ceiling, and then we're just going to let that pelvis rock, allowing the whole of the spine to come over into that C shape. If you're on the floor, you can see me demonstrating here. If you're on your chair, you'll just have your feet planted on the floor, resting your hands to your knees. And we'll just let that pelvis tilt back and curve the head down towards the knees. So as we keep going, let's just try and see if we can get a little bit deeper into that curve. Next time we're going to take it into an extension instead. So we are finding that point just below the shoulder blades where we bend backwards. We lift the breastbone, we lift the gaze. We take it into that little extension in the upper back, countering the effect of any sitting on the sofa watching TV, any work you might still be doing is typing on the computer. Instead, we're getting that open breadth across the front of the chest, reaching the top of the body back, and enjoying that sensation of lifting and opening. Now, if we're sat on the floor, we're going to open the knees out into a nice long frog. If we're on a chair, we'll just stay where we are with the feet planted into the floor. We're going to take it back into those sideways curves. We might be a little bit more warmed up now as we did some standing. So we're going to pop the hand either to the floor or to the side of the chair, on the side of the seat with you. Take that whole body over into a C curve all the way through the spine. We want to try and keep the opposite sits bones, the opposite bottom cheek, on the mat, so we don't want to roll the pelvis sideways, but we keep the hips stuck down to the mat and the bend all comes in the spine. This time we're going to take it into a rotation. Fingertips together, shoulder height. We're going to take that rotation around, and if we've got space, we'll extend that back arm out behind as well. If you don't have space for that, then you can just keep the fingertips together. So we start from the head. The rest of the spine rotates around as well, feeling like a cloth being wrung out, as every single joint in the spine has its chance to join in the rotation. While we're doing this, we still want to feel long and stretched up, so don't start to let yourself sink over to one side. Don't allow the top of the body to curve over, but instead keep that feeling of length, that nice straight spine. We're inside a Smarties tube and just rotating around. So we're just going to take a few leg extensions here. If you're on the mat, you want to bend both your legs, put your hands to your knees, and you're just going to lean back slightly here. If you're in your chair, just make sure you're sitting at the front of your chair, and you can still take a little bit of a lean back just to engage the abdominal muscles. Really switching those abdominal muscles on. And we're going to extend one leg at a time out in front. So you can extend them either quite high, level with the knees, or you can extend it a little bit lower towards the mat, depending on what level of challenge you want here. If you want to up it a bit more, take your hands off from behind your legs and hold them out in front. If you're on your chair, you'll have your arms extended out in front already. Now, if you're on the floor and you want to take it up into a double leg, this is when we're going to do that. So we can take one leg off, engage those abdominals, and add the second leg. Probably don't recommend doing this on a chair. It could end in disaster. Keeping that spine nice and long as we do so. Okay, so we're going to come round now into a 4-point kneeling position. Are you still with me? Finding that nice square positioning where we have the hips exactly over the knees and we have the shoulders exactly over the wrists. We want to make sure that we've got that lovely neutral pelvis and that long spine position that we had against the wall. First of all, we're just going to let that head drop and then bring it up to join it into that straight line. And again, letting the head drop and bringing it up to join. It's often the head which is the bit people forget about, so really give your head and neck a little bit of thought and see if you've got them as part of that straight line of the spine. Now we're just going to work on placement of the shoulder blades here. So most of the back is staying still, but we're just going to push out through the hands so that the shoulder blades slide across the back, and just the very top part of the back lifts and lowers. So we then come down, we let the shoulder blades sink together. Just pushing up and down through those arms, down into the mat, and feeling those shoulder blades sliding away from each other across the back, and then coming back in as we sink down. And we want to find a nice middle position here, so we're not pushing all the way out, but we're also definitely not letting the shoulder blades sink together. And then from here we're going to start taking some curves into the back. So we all know this one really well. We start by tucking the pelvis under, pushing through the hands, allowing the whole spine to come up into that curve like an angry cat. Head drops too, don't forget the head. We come back to that centre line, and then we allow the pelvis to tip the other way. We lift the gaze, we lift the breastbone, and we get that nice open arch through the back. A few more times here. Just going to really enjoy that sensation of bringing the spine through its full range of mobility. Finding that centre line again in the middle. See if we can increase that curve each time we get there as the muscles start to warm up and the joints get a little bit more mobile. We're finding that nice central line again now. Feeling that long line from the pelvis all the way through the shoulders to the head. Once we're there, we're going to slide the fingertips along the mat in front until they have to lift off. They come out into that long line. Imagining you've got your Pilates ball balanced on your back, unless you have your Pilates ball, in which case please feel free to balance. So we want to keep everything still and stable, so we've got no sideways twisting going on, so that ball would be able to stay balanced right in the centre of the back. Imagining we're inside a cereal box. 2 shoulders and the 2 hips are forming the corners of the box. We don't want that box to twist or tilt. Instead, we're just moving the limbs independently. Checking that position now as we're going to move on to the legs instead. So we're going to slide one foot along the mat and bring it back in. Now I'm demonstrating the slightly easier option here, where we keep the leg down on the mat. If you want to go ahead, slide that toe along the mat and then lift it off so that it reaches out behind. Then go ahead, just make sure you've got some space behind you. You want to really feel some length through that leg, so we're feeling as if someone is pulling the toe out behind. The leg is long and straight and lengthened. But that cereal box still isn't moving. That Pilates ball would still be balanced on the back. And now we're going to take one leg and one hand. Again, I'm demonstrating here that we've got them still down on the mats, but if you want to go ahead and lift them both up to make a straight line with your back, then please do go ahead. We still want to keep that feeling of length. We're keeping the back and the torso still, allowing the limbs to move around the outside independently. Engaging those abdominal muscles, drawing the abdominal muscles in, lifting them up towards the spine. Don't forget that head position, so just check your head and neck are part of that long line of the spine here. We're breathing into the side of the rib cage as before. Keeping that nice long line, even as the leg and the hand lift. If you would like to add another layer of challenge in here, then you can lift up into the quadruped and then bring in the knee to the elbow, touch the knee to the elbow and extend them out again. If you remember, we did this in class a couple of weeks ago, or you can just carry on with your quadruped. Have that same feeling of moving through treacle, finding the resistance, enjoying the repetition, because it means that you can really get inside the movement. Find your stability and find your focus and balance. We're just going to take it back into a stretch now. So opening the knees out nice and wide, sitting the bottom back towards the hips, reaching the arms out long and relaxing back into child's pose. Breathing into the back, feeling that rib cage expand and extend. Breathing into the hips and enjoying that feeling of opening and sinking down towards the mat. With each breath, seeing if you can just sink a little bit lower. Well done everybody, I hope that was helpful for you. You can get back to the festivities now and I'll see you soon. Bye!